Good afternoon, Paintsville Independent School Community. Superintendent Gibson here with a message about our return to school. I know everyone's anxiously awaiting getting back into our buildings, and I want to thank you for your continued support and your patience with us and with our teachers. I also want to commend our teachers for the work that they have done with the virtual learning. The Tiger Instructional Days have been a tremendous success, and that's a testimony to the hard work and planning that our teachers put into this. That being said, we are entering a new phase of dealing with COVID-19, how to safely re-enter our buildings. Tonight's presentation, I've got Miss Austin from the high school, Miss Webb from the elementary school, to talk about how we are going to come back into our school setting face-to-face. Couple of key points that I want to stress before we begin. The first is safety is and will always be our first concern. We do have a lot of issues with our staff being in an at-risk category, so we have to be cognizant of that as well. So being safe is not just for our students, but it's also for our faculty and staff. The other part of this that I want to reiterate is that anxiety levels will be very high for our students as they come back into the building next week. And in order to make sure that they feel comfortable and they feel safe in our buildings, the first week will be a transition phase. And we'll get into that here in just a second. And the third thing that I want to ask you for, and you've been tremendous with, is allowing us grace. We can sit here, and we have for the last 6 months, and plan and plan and plan, but ultimately the plan's only as good as the people that implement it. And the plan always has issues where we have to revise and adjust. So as we go forward with our plan to get our students back into our building, remember that it is grace that will get us through this. And we want to make sure that we continue to have a safe and successful school year. With that being said, I'm going to share screen with you, and this will be through the duration of our meeting this afternoon, and we will start with some conversation points on how we got to this point. As you can remember back before school started on the 1st, we were talking about Tiger Instruction. Tiger Instruction is the Paintsville Independent model for virtual instruction. So as we move forward with this model of instruction, it's important that everyone understands that this has never been done before in any school system in the state. So everyone's learning as we go. So just be patient with us as we go forward. You may have seen this last week. This was presented from the Department of Public Health on what schools should look for and how they provide learning to their students. I'm going to talk a little bit about this, not to get too deep in this because this is from Public Health and they are the experts on this, so I don't want to misspeak. But there's 4 categories, starting with green, yellow, orange, and red. The first category is green. That means that our community, Johnson County, has less than 1 case per 100,000 people daily. And it's important to note that the 100,000 people daily is the measuring stick that we have to follow. Johnson County only has 23,000 people in its entirety. So we have to do some math. The Department of Health has to do some math to get to where we are on our cases per 100,000 people. Yellow, if we're in the green section, we pretty well normal. We can be virtual and in person. That model will be here for the remainder of the year because we do have parents and students who have chosen to remain virtual for the course of the year. Yellow, the caseload is greater than 1, but less than 10. In this case, we have to maintain best health practices of social distance and make sure we're really cognizant of our community and what's going on. Orange is greater than 10, less than 25. We were in this area back in the summer with our cases on average for 100,000 people. There is some flexibility in whether we go from yellow to orange as far as what we provide as a school system. So we may have different looking elements of what the instructional model will look like. And then, of course, red, we hope to never get to the red level where we have greater than 25 cases per 100,000 people. That is completely 100% remote learning, and our teachers and our faculty will be limited in coming into the building. We hope to never get to that point. As it stands today, Johnson County is clearly in the yellow category. The yellow category being 1 through 10. This is updated and will be updated every Thursday for school systems to use across the Commonwealth. As you can see, right now, Johnson County is 5.8 cases per 100,000 population. The thing about that is that we are closer to the orange level right now than we are to the green level. So it's important on every person that comes into our buildings, in order for us to have continuity in services and to be able to stay in person as long as we possibly can, and to be able to have athletics the way that we want to, it's important that every person does their part in following the protocols that we've set in place. If we follow the protocols and we do everything in our power to make sure we have a safe environment, then our in-person learning will last longer and go on further. And it also helps contribute to the safety of our surrounding county and our surrounding region. So it's imperative that the safety protocols are followed. You may be asking, what if my child has a fever, cough, shortness of breath, fatigue, any of the underlying symptoms that are associated with COVID-19? As you can tell, most of these symptoms are related to the flu or even to strep throat. So what the state is recommending and CDC is recommending is that if you have any of these symptoms that are not your normal for this season, for instance, I have allergies, I deal with stuffy sinuses this time of year. If anything above that and is different than that falls in these categories, then I need to stay home. We are encouraging students that if you have any of these symptoms, stay home. You can go to virtual that day. And if you're too sick, obviously, don't worry about it. Get healthy. For our employees, they follow the same criteria. Has a student tested positive in the last 14 days? Obviously, you will be staying home if you have tested positive. If you've been required to quarantine because of contact with someone, you will obviously be required to stay home. If you have any questions about where you would fall in any of these categories, please contact our school nurses, Danette James at PES and Samantha McCarty at PHS, or contact our district health coordinator, Stacy Loffer, if you have questions. The numbers are attached. Some important notes. Mask will be mandatory. It's something that is absolutely required to provide safety for our students and for our staff. Temperature checks will be completed before getting on a bus in the morning or entering the school. Seating charts are required on buses, in classrooms, and at lunch. This enables us to contact trace if we do have a student or a staff member test positive for COVID. Paintsville Elementary School and Paintsville High School will offer healthy meals every school day this year at no cost to the students for the school year of 2020 and 2021. We will provide this every single day, lunch and breakfast for our students. Another thing to keep in mind, our teachers are teaching virtually and in person. So give them grace. They're taking on something that has never been done before, and it's a challenge on a good day to be able to teach with kids in the room, but we're also having to meet the needs of the students virtually. At any point throughout the course of this school year, we can use Tiger Instructional Days to go to virtual learning. For instance, if we have a severe weather day, a snow day, we can go to Tiger Virtual Learning. If our cases increase locally, then we can go to Tiger Instructional Day. If the cases within the district are on the rise, we can go to Tiger Instructional Day. This allows us a great deal of flexibility in how we're able to provide instruction for our students. It also takes a lot of work from our teachers to provide this service, and we're very thankful that they have been planning all summer long for this event. Now, for next week, we will start out with a transitional phase. We've got students that haven't been in our buildings since March the 13th of this spring. So bringing them back into our buildings under a pandemic will create anxiety. So starting next Monday on the 28th, we will be splitting our buildings up half at a time. At the elementary school on the 28th and the 29th, grades K through 3 will be in the building. Grades 4 and 6 will remain at home and do virtual Tiger instruction on those days. Also at the high school on the 28th and 29th, grades 9 through 12 will be in person. Grades 7 and 8 will be doing Tiger instruction at that time. On the 30th and the 1st, we'll flip-flop that. Tiger instruction will be for K3 and 9 through 12 on those 2 days. And in-person instruction will be grades 4 through 6 and grades 7 through 8. We understand that this will be a little bit of a challenge for some, and the transition week will only be for 1 week. So we ask for your patience as we get our kids acclimated back into the classroom. This is going to be a different looking time for all of our kids. Social interactions are not going to be the same as they were prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. So we need to make sure that our kids are comfortable and they're acclimated to the things that we're going to have to do to keep everyone safe in our buildings. Then immediately, starting on October the 5th, we will be doing K through 12, all grades, in person and virtually, 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Friday, because we are in the yellow category, based on the metric, will be a Tiger instructional day for all grades. The in-person and virtual categories will be provided daily, 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday. And our instructional day will begin at 8 o'clock and end at 2 o'clock for the elementary school and 2:10 for the high school. We have streamlined our calendar and our schedule in order for us to get our kids in, get them a quality instructional time of 45 to 50 minutes, and then able to get them out as early as possible. It also allows our teachers the flexibility from 2 to 3 to work on their virtual students, because we do have a large percentage of students that are in virtual classrooms. And that allows our teachers the time that they desperately need to provide for those students. This will be very fluid, and right now we're comfortable going out through the end of October. As we get closer to November, we will put out another calendar that explains what we will and won't be doing. This will also be determined by the metric that the state has put forward for us to use. There will be times when we do 5 days a week. We hope to be able to do that as much as we possibly can, but the metric and the caseload for our region will determine, for our county will determine that. I'm now going to turn this over to Ms. Webb as she shows you her plan for Paintsville Elementary School. And then at the end of her presentation, we will turn it over to Ms. Austin. Ms. Webb, are you ready?
Yes, sir, I am. Thank you, Mr. Gibson. Hello to everyone. My name is Katie Webb, and I'm the principal here at the elementary school. And I am excited to have the opportunity to get students back in the building. And I know I'm feeling a little nervous about it too, as I'm sure that you as a parent or as a student might be as well. And I just want to assure you that our school is committed to 2 things as always. One is to have a safe atmosphere for our students and our employees, and to provide a top-notch quality education. We've always been committed to that, and this year we will continue to be. Beginning next Monday, September 28th, our elementary school will be open for in-person learning. Mr. Gibson, if you could hit the next slide, please. We realize that there are some families where a student has a health concern, or a family member they live with has a health concern. And during this school year, it's just not the best idea for that child to be in person for instruction. We totally understand. So if you're a parent that is choosing the virtual option for their child for this year, just some basic reminders that are listed here. One, we have children listed as virtual whose parents indicated that during online registration in the summer, or by phone with a conversation with a staff member during the summer. Within the last week or so, our teachers as well as our instructional assistants have been reconfirming with follow-up phone calls or surveys to families to make sure who intends to remain virtual and who intends to come in person. If you opt for your child to continue with virtual starting September 28th, you cannot, Mr. Gibson, if you could go back, please. Thank you. If you are opting starting September 28th for your child to remain virtual, they will stay in that option until October 22nd, which is the end of the first 9 weeks. If you have any questions about virtual learning, you are more than welcome to call me or our staff members, and I've listed the office number there. You can also email me, and I've listed my email there as well. Please remember, as Mr. Gibson said, that our teachers will not only be doing virtual instruction, they'll also be doing in-person instruction starting September the 28th. Virtual learning schedules are going to look different than they did during these first few weeks when everyone was virtual. At the elementary, for virtual learning, we're going to focus more on recorded lessons and have times to contact the teacher in the afternoons to have your questions answered, and definite deadlines for turning in work. If you're a parent that is still weighing which option is best for your child, I would ask you to consider a couple of things. If they have a health condition, I would recommend that they stay home for virtual learning. If they're in a situation, though, where the virtual learning has not been optimal for them, they have trouble sticking to a deadline or completing assignments virtually, I would highly suggest that they come into the building for in-person instruction. If you could go to the next slide, Mr. Gibson. The week of September 28th through October 2nd, so next week, if the child is an in-person student, grades K, 1, 2, and 3 will be here in person on Monday and Tuesday. On Monday and Tuesday, grades 4, 5, and 6 will be virtual. Then on Wednesday and Thursday, grades 4, 5, and 6 will come in the building, and K1, 2, and 3 will be virtual. And then all students will be virtual on Friday, October 2nd. The following week, October 5th, we will have all grades come for in-person learning if that is their option on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays. Fridays will continue to be virtual for the time being. Mr. Gibson, if you could hit the next slide, please. Some other things related to in-person instruction. To allow for more social distancing and spacing between students in our building, some of our basic procedures that we have done for a long time have had to be altered. So I've tried to put those in bold on these slides. Masks must be worn at all times when you're on school property, except when you're eating or drinking. We've also had to alter our arrival times from our traditional times. No student drop-off prior to 7:40. At 7:40, our bus riders and K1 students may enter the building. At 7:45, students in grades 2, 3, and 4. And at 7:50, students in grades 5 and 6. I know a lot of us have more than one child at the elementary. So if you have 2, 3, or more children at PES, we ask that you have the children arrive at the time of the youngest of your children. If you could go on to the next slide, please. Some other morning procedures. Bus riders will be dropped off this year at the 2nd Street entrance. That's the courthouse side. We will not be doing any car drop-offs on 2nd Street in the mornings. Those who drop off by car or who walk from homes nearby, if you're in grades 1 through 6, you will enter through the 3rd Street entrance. So no car drop-offs or walk-ins at the front of the building. Those will all be done on 3rd Street. Kindergarten students will have a separate entrance. Kindergarten students who are dropped off by their parents will enter through the side door that is across from the eye doctor's office. And due to safety regulations, only students or employees may enter the building in the morning. Another reminder related to student safety, please do not drop off students in any of our side parking lots or directly from the street. We definitely don't want anyone hurt or hit or injured in any way. We want to keep our entrances into the building in the morning as safe as possible. Next slide, please. Upon entry, all students must have their temperature scanned. As Mr. Gibson said, breakfast and lunch are going to be provided at no cost this year to all students. We're very excited to have that as an opportunity for our kids. Breakfast for the morning is actually going to be sent home with students on the evening of the school day before. So they will get a to-go bag as they leave for the day to have for breakfast the next morning. If you are dropping your child off by car, the student will remain in the car with you until an employee has come up to the window and scanned that child's temperature. You must remain with the student until their temperature has been taken and they're good to go in the building. And after they get inside, all the students will immediately go to their homeroom. According to Healthy at School guidelines, we cannot gather in large groups. So we won't be doing our gym or cafeteria holding this year. They will go directly to their classrooms upon entry. Next slide, please. In the evening, as Mr. Gibson said, we are going to be dismissing earlier than normal to allow our teachers time to work with our virtual students. I do ask that you don't check students out from the office after 1 o'clock, because at that point we have started with some of our younger ones on the dismissal process, and we don't want to create any confusion. Please do not phone the office with changes for pickup plans for the students for the day. If you have to make a change on how your child is being picked up, you need to send that in a note to your child's teacher by no later than 8 o'clock that morning. Kindergarten for this year is going to dismiss earlier than the other grades. Kindergarten will dismiss at 1:30. If your kindergarten student is a bus rider, they will be taken out first. And then if you have a kindergarten child you are picking up, we will do that at that time. And kindergarten pickups are going to be done on 2nd Street. So again, if you're picking up a kindergartner, that will be done at 1:30 on 2nd Street. For our older grades, grades 1 through 6, dismissal will begin at 2 o'clock, and that will take place on the 3rd Street side of the building. Our bus riders and walkers, as always, are going to be dismissed first, and then we will do dismissal of students being picked up by their parents. In order to keep us socially distanced, we ask that no parent walk in to the building to pick up students. All parent pickups will need to be by car in the 3rd Street bus lane, and we ask that parents not stand outside the exit doors. Next slide, please. Some general information. The last hour of our employees' day after dismissal will be devoted to preparing lessons, working with virtual students, and answering any questions they may have. So they will not have evening office hours after the 28th. At this time, state guidance prohibits bringing in whole class treats, such as birthday party items for a class. And to minimize contact, our teachers at the elementary will rotate to students. So during their specials classes or the upper grades where they have more than one teacher, those teachers will rotate to them. If your child rented a device from the school, they do need to bring it with them daily. We cannot share devices. So if they're doing computer work, they will need to bring that device that they rented. And if they've been using their own device, we heavily encourage them to bring it as well. We need to minimize students sharing items such as computers, textbooks, that sort of thing. And we ask that you refrain, if at all possible, from dropping off items to students during the school day. Next slide, please. That's all I have. And again, I'm excited to see students back in this building on Monday. I can't wait to see those faces. Thank you.
At this time, we'll turn it over to Miss Austin and Paintsville High School.
Good evening, everyone. I want to start by saying thank you for all the hard work our students, faculty, and staff have committed these past few weeks with our NTI learning and getting our school year started. And we are so excited to have students return to the building. Like I've told them on multiple occasions, it has been very quiet here for us, and we do miss seeing our students daily. So we're excited to announce those plans as we return to school next week. Next slide, please, Mr. Gibson. So as Ms. Webb has stated, beginning Monday on September 28th, PHS will be open for in-person learning, and in-person and virtual options will continue for our students. So students will have the option, if they choose to remain virtual, they can. Regardless of whichever method they choose, they're still going to get the quality education that we provide to our students from Paintsville Independent. Next slide, please. For students that have chosen the virtual option, something that parents need to know, that would be based on what you indicated with your online registration this summer, or if you choose to change your mind, you can do that as well. Our instructional assistants will be calling this week just to confirm your plans, and that will be so that we can get our numbers. It is important that you know any child that has chosen to remain virtual, you cannot opt to be in person until the end of the 9 weeks. So for the first 9 weeks, that ends October 22nd. So if you want to be in person for the second 9 weeks, you would need to let us know before that date. We do ask that you contact the office if you have not received a follow-up call, or to confirm if your child is going to remain a virtual student. Because our teachers are going to be teaching in person during this time, virtual schedules will look different from what the students have been receiving the past few weeks. So students that are receiving virtual learning while your teachers are in person, you will not have a live instruction. Instead, you will have pre-recorded lessons, and your contact with the teachers will look a little different, as well as your deadlines for tutoring and turning in work. So please make sure you contact your teachers via email. Next slide, please. On the week of September 28th through October 2nd, we are going to phase in our in-person instruction. So our freshmen through seniors, you will have in-person instruction on Monday the 28th and Tuesday the 29th. During this time, our 7th and 8th grade students will have virtual instruction. We will switch, and on Wednesday the 29th and Thursday, October 1st, our 7th and 8th grade students will be back in the building for in-person, while our 9th through 12th grade students will be virtual for those days. Again, all students will be virtual and will follow the same schedule on Friday. Once we begin on October 1st or October 5th, all students will be in the building. Next slide, please. To allow for more social distancing and spacing, we are going to have a lot of procedures that our students will need to follow, so we would like to go over those like we have in the previous slides. Again, masks must be worn at all times while on school property, except when you are eating and drinking. Our arrival times will look very different. No students will be admitted to the building prior to 7:40, and it will be phased in based on your grade levels. At 7:40, that is when our bus riders and our 7th and 8th grade students will be permitted to enter the building. 7:45, freshmen and sophomores, and 7:50, juniors and seniors. Again, the same procedure with the elementary. If you have more than one child in your household, please come at the time of the youngest child. So if you have a 7th grader and a senior, we ask that the family enters during the 7th grade time. Next slide, please. Some morning procedures. Again, our bus riders will be dropped off on the 2nd Street side of the building. Only our bus riders and our faculty will be permitted to enter on that side of the building. So we're asking for everyone else to enter through the double doors in Tiger Alley on the 3rd Street side. So that is for students who are dropped off by a car or walk nearby, as well as our student drivers. Student drivers, you can still continue to park in the parking lot on 3rd Street, and you'll still enter through those double doors in Tiger Alley. Only our faculty and staff will be permitted to park in the parking lot on 2nd Street. So student drivers, make sure you do know you do need to park in the parking lot on 3rd Street, because you will be entering through Tiger Alley. Again, due to safety regulations, we are only permitting students and employees to enter the building in the morning. And again, to keep our students safe, we're asking that you do not drop them off in a side parking lot or on the street, that you pull into the bus lane during that time. Upon entry, students will have their temperature scanned. Students that are being driven by their parents or guardians, you'll be scanned in the bus lane before exiting the vehicle. As we've mentioned previously, breakfast and lunch is provided to all students this year at no cost, and breakfast is going to be sent home the evening prior. Again, those that are coming by car, you will remain in your car until your temperature has been scanned. This, however, does not apply to our student drivers. Our student drivers will park and then they will enter the building through those double doors, so they will get in line. Next slide, please. As far as our evening dismissal, our bell schedule will have us ending at 2:10, and then we will release from there based on grade levels. At 2:10, bus riders, juniors, and seniors will be asked to exit the building. At 2:13, sophomores and freshmen, and 2:16, 7th and 8th grade students. So again, remember students that you are asked to exit as soon as possible. Parents that are picking up students, you will need to come through the bus lane on 3rd Street to help with congestion in our parking lot. We ask that you do not enter the parking lot to pick up students unless you are parked in a designated parking space. But we don't want anyone waiting in the parking lot during that time. And again, to ensure social distancing, we ask that parents do not stand outside the exit doors. Next slide, please. Some general information that you will see at the high school. The last hour of the day after dismissal will be devoted to lesson planning, answering questions for our virtual students. So again, there will no longer be office hours in the evening for our teachers beginning September 28th. An updated bell schedule will be provided to students in their grade level Google Classrooms, and we will follow the same schedule each day, whether we are in person or we are doing school-wide Tiger Virtual Day. So the schedule that we have been following will be adjusted, and that will be posted on the grade level Google Classrooms for students. Next slide, please. Again, at this time, state guidance prohibits bringing in whole class items such as cakes or pizza. Parents, you will not be permitted to drop off items to students during the day. So we ask that you please make sure your students have all their necessary items upon arrival to school. Students, if you have rented a Chromebook or device from the school, you need to bring that with you daily. And also students, if you have your own device, you are encouraged to bring those with you as well. Students may not share items during this time, and that does include our computers. We are asking that you please check with your teachers for any items that they may have required for their classes. And we're also encouraging our students that if you have your own individualized small hand sanitizer, maybe clip that to your backpack. Hand sanitizer stations will be provided throughout the building as well. And another change this year, lockers will not be provided to students this year due to social distancing requirements. So students, you are encouraged to have a backpack. That way you can put all of your items in it at all times. Thank you, Mr. Gibson.
Thank you, Ms. Austin. Thank you, Ms. Webb, for the information. Again, I want to reiterate the patience that we're going to be requiring for our students and for our staff members as they navigate the next few weeks. This is unprecedented waters, and we've heard that multiple times, but in reality, it really is. Our teachers have some anxiety levels. I personally have anxiety levels. I know Ms. Webb mentioned it a second ago. We're worried. We want to make sure that we provide all the things that our kids so desperately need. Social interactions, a great education, but we must do it safely. So be patient with us as we navigate these troubled waters and we get through the next few weeks, and give us grace. We all need grace in this moment in time because it's such it's a weird time in our society, but this is a scary time for our society as well. So just be patient with our teachers, be patient with our kids, and we will do like Paintsville always does. We will overcome, and we will provide the best education that there is in the mountains, because that's what Paintsville does. That's what Paintsville Independent stands for. Thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact us, and have a good evening. Thank you.